Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blackbird 91. My throat, boy. We are talking to you guys about the last Ready to Love. We are pretty much done now. We finished. We have reached the end. Sorry about that. My throat. So we've pretty much reached the end. And so I want to give my overall synopsis of this whole entire season. I want to talk a little bit about, why some interviews didn't go ahead. I'm not going to tell everything, but I keep things out close behind the scenes, but why some interviews didn't go ahead. And just talk just freely as well, because we're preparing ourselves now for Miami. I am done with DC. I'm done. I'm tired. I was tired. Look, we didn't recover. The first DC group, I was cool. I enjoyed it. I loved it. It was craziness going left and right. We couldn't keep up. There were stories after stories. But then we had back to back, and I was just knackered. And I went to South Africa. When I came back, I was just like, bro, there was a lot going on, like, do you know what I mean? And it is what it is, right? So we need a break. We need a break. We need to go and rest. We need to go and recuperate. You know what I'm saying? Get ourselves ready for Miami. I'm ready for whatever madness Miami's bringing. By then I would have fully healed and I'll be ready for the madness of Miami. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping it's going to be some madness there too. You know what I mean? I like a bit. I'm just going to be honest with you. We all know you ain't going to find no love on the show. So, okay. So let's get to there. But yeah, let's go from there. And so, yeah, if you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor. Like it, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of the uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is. You got the minerals. All right, cool. So I put in my title here, no more interviews. All but the Kia, everybody has been contacted. So I have got in contact with every single cast member in regards to an interview. Okay, like I do every season. All right. Now, to be honest, people have got back in contact with me and told me whether they would interview or not interview. Okay. All right. So that's why I said there's no more interviews, because all the interviews I've done, those are people that said they wanted to do it. We did it. The rest that haven't done it, best believe I messaged. I've messaged Joy. I've messaged Clifton. I messaged Carmen. I messaged Demetrius. I messaged Paul. I messaged Kia. Right? I messaged them all. Okay. All right. Now, obviously, situation. I don't know the reasons why we're not doing this sort of interviews, but they've politely declined the interview. And I said, that's cool. I don't actually have a beef with that. You know what I'm saying? They never said anything rude or anything like that. But they politely declined the interview. And Demetrius was the last one to decline the interview, which was set up as well for Wednesday. Let me be very frank and very honest. I'm not going to change. I'm going to call your behavior out if I need to call it out. Whether I get the interview or not, I'm going to call them out. Because if the behavior is off, I'm going to call it out. Right? That's just me. I can't change. And I want to implore and encourage some people here, right? When I started YouTube, I said I had a way of dealing with certain things, right? That when you deal with certain things in a certain way, it will cause you to lose certain things, right? It will cause you to lose certain things. The way that I go about maybe calling certain things out, I know it will cause problems. I know already, right? So that I have to be ready for some of the consequences that will happen. That's the honest truth. I have to be ready for those consequences, irrespective of whether I think I may have the truth, right? Whether I want to or not, doesn't make a difference, right? There are consequences to actions, and you have to be ready for that. That's how I live life. Action, consequence. Action, reaction. And you have to be ready for that. When you say certain things about certain people's behavior, whether they agree or not, you have to be ready that they may not be cool with what you say. Right? So you have to be integral to what you believe you're called to do. You have to. You know what I mean? You have to be ready for what's gonna come that way, right? It makes sense, right? So for me, it's like it's been an interesting journey. Um, because and that's the truth right there. They're still doing lives. So it's not like they're not doing lives. It's not like they're not doing their talking. They're still doing talking, but there's a control of narrative, and that's cool. I get it. You have to do. I do the same thing. I'd do the exact same thing. I would control my narrative. I would do the exact same thing. I'm not even blaming them. For me, this whole season has been such a this particular batch, right? This particular batch has been interesting. Because they've been doing lives throughout the whole season. I've not been able to keep up. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of stuff I've not been able to keep up. Right? There's been a lot of stuff that I've not been able to keep up. I've not been able to keep up with a lot of the stuff because, fam, every time I go on internet, there's a live going. I'm like, bruv, there's so much conversation. I'm like, bro, like I don't. So the story, the story you're trying to get, you're like, bruv, this X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. I'm like, bro, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. So, so you know what it is for me? I said again, at the end of the day, uh, you know, and the reason as well. So one of the reasons why, you know, uh, Michelle, can I just say something, Michelle? I've seen you on several platforms. I need you to relax. I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the mood. Me, I'll call you out today. Michelle, I've seen you on several platforms. It's okay. Relax. I've seen you on several platforms. It's okay. I won't talk where, but I've seen you on several platforms. Relax. It's okay. Now, oh, my throat. Hold on. Here's my thing. You know, I can see, um, I can see that I can see that, with these situations, um, we must stick to what we are about, right? Which is we want to hold people accountable. We won't always agree with what you're saying. And there are certain things when you say them, we're gonna challenge you on, right? Here's my thing, and I'll be absolutely freaking real. Part of me, right, knew that something like this would happen because, and here's the thing, like the reason why I do my interviews the way I do them is so that we can't get into just I want to tell the story of what happened on the show, right? Because I'm gonna keep it real. I mean, I don't. It's gonna be on the internet. You're gonna see it, and I'll say it to the DMs later on as well, right? Paul is a perfect example. Paul is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, right? Paul didn't want to come on the platform. He disagreed with my thought process and how I spoke about the situation. But how quickly he wanted to come, no, I have to keep it real. How quickly he wants to come on to address the Tina situation, but has not done an interview yet. It's not a beef, it's an observation of behavior. So what I'm starting to see is that people didn't want to come and do the interview. That's why I give props to people like Sabrina, because I could have come in and we're gonna grow your ass. You know what I'm saying? We the audience gonna grow your ass. Like they were ready to grow you. Tori came on, they're gonna grill you. Donovan came on, they're gonna grill you. Like all these people came on because they were gonna grill you. They are gonna grill you, right? The audience are gonna grill you. They're going to have their say. That's what the show does. That's the reason why the show is where it is. But people were trying to subvert the process, meaning you want to come and address something, but you don't want to come and do the whole process. That's subverting what we're talking about, right? So the reason why I do these interviews the way I do them is because what we're not going to do is jump straight into, I just want to address this issue, right? I just want to address it. I don't want to do, let's just address this issue. I want to say, let's actually get to know you. Do you know what I'm saying? I want to say, let's address this. Let's address this holistically. Let's look at you as a whole person. Where are you coming from? What have you been through? What have you seen? So that we can build up the whole entire profile picture of you, so we can get an understanding. Right? This is quintessential. Right? I want to understand the whole, be able to understand who you are as a person. Because one thing I'm gonna say, which is really, and people don't like the edits of Ready to Love. People really don't like the edits of Ready to Love. Let me tell you something. The producers move mad. I don't have conversations with the producers say what you're putting in, what you don't put in. I'm not having conversations with producers say, Kojo, make sure you don't do this. Listen, I'm not having those kind of conversations. I do what I want. Well, I'll be honest with you. Yeah. If they said I shouldn't interview someone, I'm gonna interview them anyway. I do what I want. So, but let me just say this, right? Something that I've noticed about these edits, something that I've noticed about a lot of these edits is they capture people in an essence of a moment, right? They catch you in a moment. And then what they do is they plant that and say, that's just your character, right? Then what will happen is that part of your character gets blown up, which I understand, right? That part gets blown up. And what you will see is that when you come out and we get the full story of who you are, we all then begin to understand why they actually capture that part of your character. Right? When they capture that little part of your character, in most cases, not every case, it's not everyone that they get it exactly right. But once they highlight that part of it, oftentimes when they come and do an interview, not just with myself, on any platform, you realize they start seeing that. We start seeing that. If you don't like being a villain, you got to show the people you're not a villain. That's my thing. If you're not a villain, and I say villain in a way of, like I said, when they put you in the light of negative, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, do you know what I'm saying? But you know, if they show you in that way, it is it's your thing to now come out and show us a different way by being honest and true about yourself. Do you know what happens with villainy? Do you know why people become villains? Oftentimes on the show, no self-awareness. Self-awareness. That's the biggest thing. And this is me saying it outwardly so that everybody who comes for the next season also understands. You become this thing to the audience when you don't have the self-awareness of your own behaviors. When you're looking back at your behavior on the screen and they're saying to you, this is your behavior, and you're going, no, it ain't. People will be looking at, why? That is, look, do you understand the impact of what your behavior will do? No, that's just me. I do what I want. That's just me. That's how I am. That's how I move. And it's like, that's why people look at you that way. You know what I mean? So so I can understand, like I said, to control the narrative. Because as for me, as I said what I said a lot this season, I said I would challenge a lot of things. Um no, to be fair, DK hasn't declined. So Dakia is the only one that hasn't declined. Dakia is the only one that hasn't declined. Just to make it very clear, Dakia hasn't declined. Dakia hasn't declined an interview. She hasn't declined. We've actually spoken. She hasn't declined. But everyone else has now settled. They're respectfully. And again, they weren't rude. I want to make it very clear again. The group who haven't interviewed me, they weren't rude. They weren't disrespectful. Okay. They just politely declined. So I'm not even coming at them like saying they were rude or anything. Nope, not at all. Right. But what I'm talking about is we gotta look, you know, uh we gotta look at these, we gotta look at how the show is gonna betray people, but also look at how yourself, how you come across to other people. This is what I teach the audience. This is what I teach myself. This is what I live by, right? This is what I live by. This is what I talk about, right? This is what we deal with every season. I talk about these things. And I say, even myself, I must hold myself accountable. If I do something wrong, y'all gonna hold me accountable. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I get it. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm with it, man. Look, someone said who declined. Oh, I already told you. Did I not say who declined? We didn't know who declined. Carmen declined. Demetrius declined. Joy declined. Clifton declined. That was the people that declined. But I can understand why. Like I said, I've been very strong on my opinions on them. Do you know what I'm saying? So I can also understand. That's why I said it's my fault in the sense of I've been very strong on my opinions. Paul actually hasn't declined. Paul hasn't declined, but when we're still waiting on a date that has not come around yet. So Paul hasn't declined yet. You know what I'm saying? We haven't declined yet. You know what I mean? We're still, yeah. So it's important, you know, to open up and see and look at the situation as for it is and say, hey, look, what am I contributing to my image and my reputations? Right? What am I adding? Right? Was I that opinionated in the past? Yes. Yes. I've been disopinionated. I've been disopinionated. And again, my opinion isn't whether you're a bad person or good person. My opinion is around what I believe is your behavior. You know what I mean? My opinion isn't about whether uh you know whether we like you or dislike you. My thing is about behavior and dealing with behaviors. That's what I talk about. That's I don't want to talk about whether you're a good person or a bad person in a sense. I want to talk about whether your behavior, whether it looks like this or that, right? So it's important to also understand how when we look at these situations, right? Looking at it from a particular perspective, you have to be aware that you are contributing towards something. Someone said I was more diplomatic. I wouldn't say I was more diplomatic. I'll be very honest with yourself. I've grown more in challenging people. I've grown more in challenging people. I've grown more in saying I don't agree with what you just said there to your face rather than doing a review. I've grown more in being able to do that. But if you go far back, look at the very first interview I ever did with Denise. I told her I don't agree. I do not agree. That's not what we saw. That's not what we saw on the screen. So I've always been that way where if I don't agree with you, I'm gonna tell you, but I've got stronger in my being able to tell you face to face, I don't agree with that. Do you know what I'm saying? So there has been a growth part. Um, there's been a growth part, I think. I think, as I said to you guys as well, yeah. And shout out to Dante too, because Dante came on. You know what I'm saying? Now, probably, I don't know if he would come on now, but he definitely came on. Do you know what I mean? He definitely came on and he came and had his piece and said, like, you know what I mean? I don't know if he'll come on now. Maybe we can get him on now. Let's see if we can get him on now. We would love to know the story. And it would be less about trying to hold him accountable and trying to find out what the frick happened. I think, if I was to invite Dante on, it would be less about accountability because I don't think we need to hold him accountable anything else. We already know what he needs to do. But we want to know what is happening to you. How did you get here? You know what I mean? That's what we want to know. But yeah, so that's that's another one. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but you move and you grow from it, man. And again, and I think this is also part of the I wasn't expecting after I did what I did to Clifton, I didn't expect him to come on in the first place. After that, I'll be honest with you. When I challenged Clifton the way I did, I said he ain't coming back on. But I'm here. I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I'm hearing lies, I just Um, you know, it don't make sense, right? Do you know what I mean? For me, it's like, no, this don't make sense, bro. I'm gonna call you out on this. Like, this don't make sense. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what we do, or that's what I do on my platform. Do you know what I'm saying? So, listen, next year we're coming with this next batch, we're coming bigger and better. Because listen, you can say we want, but you're not gonna avoid us. We are gonna be in your eye line. We're gonna be seen. We're gonna be there. You understand? Bang bang. We are gonna be there. Listen, someone said something which is interesting. Someone said saying you don't agree is great, but assisting there lying is an issue. For instance, insisting that Clifton knew the Kia liked him. How do you know she even did? Maybe she acted like it after all. Hey. This Michelle. Come on. This thing is not. This thing is not even difficult. There are certain things that happen that are not difficult to understand. By their own words, they knew that the Kia liked Clifton. Right? So when you're saying something, I'm only using what they have said. Do you get what I'm saying? Which is why I tell you guys, I will never talk about what happens behind the scenes. Because let me tell you this now. Pretty much every castmate has come and told me their side of their story. But you'll never hear it in my reviews because I only deal with what I see on the screen. And unless you're going to come out and say it yourself in an interview, I won't address it. Now, this situation with Clifton was so obvious. And I'm talking about the fact that how do you not know this girl likes you? How you not know? But you're having to convince her and say that our connection is strong. Was that part of the business arrangement? So there were some inconsistencies in some of the behavior. The way that Joy is reacting to Kia tells me that Kia had some kind of liking towards Clifton. But it was Clifton that didn't have a liking towards her. There was some type of liking. As a man, you are not ignorant of when people like you. Women too, the same thing. You're not ignorant when people like you. You know when they like you. Right? You know when they like you. So that's why I'm like, this doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like, come on. We you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying, at the end of the day, you know what I mean? But I get it, man. You know, it is what it is. But we're gonna continue next season. We're going the exact same way. You're gonna come on and you're gonna tell us a story about your past life first, and then we're gonna find out about Ready to Love. We're gonna do that first, right? We're gonna do that. That's what we're gonna do. Okay. Um, I find Michelle is right. Kojo is biased. I am actually biased. Let's keep it a buck, right? We all have some level of biasness in ourselves, right? I tend to think myself not too biased, but there's some bias that I will have, right? Because as a person who's played the game before, when I see people playing the game, they are the people that I'm the hardest on. When I see people playing the game, I'm hardest on them. I'm like, no, come on, we done already seen what. Come on now, you know, um, you know, come on now. So there's a bias that is in that respect of the fact that when you play the game, you can spot other game players, which is why you call bull on a lot of stuff. Like, yo, bro, like this don't make sense. Like, explain that. That don't make no sense. You know what I mean? That don't make no sense. Come on, explain that. So you can call out a lot of stuff. So yeah, there's a slight bias in there. There is, you know, um, you know. So there is, you know. To be fair, I only had again the friendship. This season did nothing different to what they did last season. I'll be honest with you. Last season, I'm very cool with every season in terms of having conversations. They didn't do anything different. There was nothing different. When people hit me up, I just say, hey, because we've spoken, I'm gonna be honest with you. I love you, but this is what you want to get. You know what I mean? It didn't change how I dealt with the narrative. It didn't change of how I dealt with the situation. It didn't change of how I saw certain things. Do you know what I'm saying? like whether you reach out to me or not, I'm still gonna say what I need to say. Do you get what I'm saying? Because like I said, I spoke to every cast member, and well, pretty much every cast member, and I heard their actual viewpoints on the situation. But whether you give me your viewpoint on the situation or not makes no difference, because I will still hold an opinion that I hold, because I will take in all the information and calculate it in a particular way, right? So I would still hold that same thought process. You know what I mean? So yes, one could potentially look at it as they may try to manipulate me, but the whole point is I still would hold the same position. Otherwise, would Carmen not be on the show? Now, I've spoken to Carmen several times. Would Carmen not be on the show? It doesn't matter, because I will keep holding the same opinion. Whether you tell me your side or not, I will still hold the same opinion. You know what I mean? I will still hold the same thought process, because if you don't do that, then I'm not being integral to myself. And also that means I can change at a hat. And it's not the way we want to go about it, you know. That's the way. I don't see bias, I see integrity and acute perception. Too many people vibrate low. You're always money and respectful in your questioning. Love for that. So it's really cool. I mean, I find it interesting. This season's been a different ball game, and it's been so interesting because there's been, this season I was hard on BGS last season. Now let me keep it a buck as well. I was hard on BGS last season, and rightly so. Yeah, rightly so. Yes, thank you for the super chats, guys. I appreciate you as well. Sorry, I missed that one. Thank you for the super chats. I was hard on BGS last season, and rightly so. This season, this season, this season hasn't been the same, but there's been a cohort group. Let's just keep it a buck. There's been a cohort group. Okay, there's been a cohort group. Let me keep it 100. And it's only till I saw at the end, it's only really come to light at the very end of the show, of the alliance that's happened, right? The alliance that's happened is only come to the end of the show. Zadia hates me, I know. I still love Zadia, by the way. I think she's cute, she's amazing, you know what I mean? And shout out to Zadia as well, because fam, she showed up. That's why I said I always give Zadia props for that. She turned up 10 toes down, ready to go. And I always appreciate it. She's a beautiful girl. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, that's another story. I like toxicity. Now, so I love that. Respect to Zadia. And that's what I'm trying to say. Everyone can say that. Everyone can say respect to Zadia. We can all say that because we understand. Even with that, she still came on. Respect her. Forever, you have to respect her for that. No matter whatever you feel about her, you have to respect her for that. Now, see certain things, yeah. And thank you, Mel, right? Someone said it, right? It's the end of the show, but when I'm starting to see people starting to switch allegiances and alliances, I started seeing it. I said, oh, this is a powerful movement going on right now. But it's only until the end of the show did we start to see it all, right? And again, when we saw even an interview with Carmen, Demetrius, Joy, Paul, all on the same live, okay, I very much knew about it. You guys saw I had an interview lined up with Carmen, Demetrius, Joy, and Clifton. You saw I had an interview lined up. I had an interview lined up for Wednesday, today, or Tuesday, sorry, yesterday, to have on this conversation with with the whole group, right? So you realize what this powerful movement then becomes. You know what I mean? And if I talk about socially, if I talk about how people move in groups and how they move amongst one another, right? Look, someone said, "Who would have thought Laverne would be the least messy?" Oh, we're mad. Oh, so it's become this divide very, very quickly, and so it's almost a us versus them situation. So it's like I get it. Like there are there were always going to be sometimes two sides, and I knew that from the very beginning of the season because, like I said, you speak to the cast members and stuff like that. And I get it. It's interesting to see how certain people have this power to change and influence, right? It's interesting, you know. So when you start to see how certain people are involved, and you see how people are shifting positions, and seeing how people are changing how they feel, and you see what names keep coming up, you're like, you know what I mean? So it's interesting. Like I said, I had pretty much people lined up, but it went away. So I don't think I need to say anything more. You know what I mean? I don't think we need to say anything more. I think we need to see it for what it is and move on to Miami. All right. You know what I mean? Listen, honestly, like, yo, when I clocked that Laverne ain't lying, I need to even send him a message as well. Bruh, Laverne ain't lying. I said, damn. yo, yo, you know, I also had Eric lined up. Listen, I had all these interviews lined up, and they are all part of the same Kahoot group. So I'm like, eh. I'm like, all right, cool. Is what it is. It's human behavior. So that's what we care about. We care about the human behavior. You know what I mean? That's what it is. You know. Hey, listen. Exactly, Life Budge. I'm gonna Laverne an apology. You know what I mean? But he still got some. There's still behavior issues with Laverne. That's the honest truth. There's still some behavior issues with Laverne. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. There's still some behavior issues with Laverne. That ain't changed. You know, that ain't changed. Woo! That'll do it. Anyway, listen, guys, thank you so much for the season. Unless something else happens or something changes, I think this is pretty much the last situation we'll talk about. Unless something really comes up, you know what I mean? Unless something really does come up, you know, that's unless something comes up, that'd be it, you know. So yeah, we going to sign out on this DC. It's been great. It's been amazing. It's been cool. But we going to sign out and get ourselves to Miami. It's time to move on to greener pastures now. You know what I'm saying? And talk about some other shows coming up as well. I need to go into Love and Marriage DC as well. So, you know, one final panel with Sabrina Dakia and Courtney. Hey, listen. You know what? Oh man. Do you know what I want to do though? I'll be honest with you. Sabrina and Ace are very similar people in terms of what they do work-wise. I would love to have them on board on here, you know, giving their view, you know, aside the show. Away from the show, I would love to have Sabrina and Ace because they talk about similar things in terms of wanting to help the Black community. I would love to have them on board as well. And maybe I would even have some of the other cast members as well in terms of conversation around other things aside just Ready to Love, you know, because a lot of these people do great work. A lot of people do great work in their community. So, and you know what I mean? So it'd be like that. It'd be like that. It'd be like that. Someone said, do you agree with your interview with Donovan got a bit out of hand? Out of hand? Where out of hand? Where out of hand? Just because I'm your friend does not mean I'm not going to do my job. I have to do my job. Do you get me? Yeah. I did the exact same thing as I did for him that I did for anybody else. Yeah, I did the exact same thing. I didn't draw out any things that we spoke about in the past. I didn't draw out anything that we spoke about privately. I said to him, just keep it 100 a buck. You're not giving me true answers. That's what I said. You know what I'm saying? So whether we're cool or not, whether I've met you and we've been cool and we've been friends, and we are friends, I've still got to do my job. I still got to do my job. You know what I mean? So yeah, and if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, I'm gonna call you up on it. It's my job. That's there is no let's let's try and avoid this or whatever. No. We're gonna ask those hard questions. So, but I hear what you're saying, you know. All right, guys, it's been amazing, it's been great. We're moving on. We're moving on. We're moving on. We're moving on to Miami. Welcome to Miami. Welcome to Miami. Ah. Hey. 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 We're on to Miami, guys. So appreciate you guys. We'll see you again in the fall, and we'll chop it up once again. Much love and much appreciation. We'll see you again very, very soon.